The Eastern Townships is a tourist region and a former administrative region in southeastern Quebec, Canada, situated between the former seigneuries south of the St. Lawrence River and the United States border. Its northern boundary roughly followed Logan's line, the geologic boundary between the St. Lawrence Lowlands and the Appalachian Mountains. The region comprises counties that were originally divided into townships after the traditional method of land grants of the original New England and New York settlers. Earlier French settlement along the St. Lawrence River had divided the landscape into parishes and seigneuries. The tourist region now covers most of the region. The administrative region, officially called Estrie, is slightly smaller. The principal cities are Sherbrooke, Granby, Magog, and Cowansville. The towns of Drummondville, Victoriaville, and Thetford Mines are part of the historical region. The region has summer colonies used by vacationing Montrealers and several ski resorts, including Mount Orford, Ski Bromont, Mount Sutton, and Owl's Head. Geography. Demographics. The area contains a population of about 330,000, most of whom are French-speaking. It also contains about 41,000 native English-speaking inhabitants, forming a significant minority in the community. The area has been described as populated by well-heeled cottages and gentleman farmers. History. The first inhabitants of the region were the Abenaki First Nations. The names of many towns, lakes and rivers of the area are of Abenaki origin. The Abenakis allied themselves with the French during the 7 Years' War to fight the British. The region was part of New France until the 1763 Treaty of Paris, which granted the region to the British. Shortly after the American Revolution, a few United Empire Loyalists, who fled the Revolution in order to stay loyal to the British Crown, settled in the Eastern Townships. The land was controlled by 3 English seigneurs. Colonel Henry Caldwell had purchased what had been the Foucault Seigneury, which ran along the Richelieu River and a little over the present-day frontier. Colonel Gabriel Christie was Seigneur of Noyon, and Thomas Dunn was Seigneur of St. Armand. The early Loyalists settled in and around Missisquoi Bay. A popular misconception is that there was a huge influx of Loyalists to the Eastern Townships. In fact, most of the immigration from New England happened in the early 19th century, 30 or so years after the Revolution. Most were farmers seeking new lands, something the townships had to offer. Some Loyalists had moved to the area during the Revolutionary War. When it ended, Sir Frederick Haldimand, the governor of Quebec, expected them to move westward with the rest of the Loyalists. He cut off the rations the government had been providing. However, they resisted efforts to be moved by force and were finally permitted to stay by Lieutenant Governor Henry Hamilton after Haldimand's return to England. The status of the East Townships Loyalists was resolved when the seigneurs agreed to permit them to stay on the land for a nominal fee. The exact number cannot be ascertained, but a petition they sent to the governor included 378 names, allowing for a family of 5. This could suggest a population of about 1,600 or so. The land they settled on, the present-day area of Noyon, Clarenceville and St. Armand, was not part of the Eastern Townships, but have since been regarded as part of the townships. Under the terms of the Constitutional Act of 1791, the Eastern Townships were open to settlement and a land rush followed. Most of the 3,000 settlers came from the United States. A few were Loyalist, at least in spirit, but most simply wanted land and had no strong feeling about nationality. Many more immigrated from the British Isles, including Gaelic-speaking Scots. The Eastern Townships were originally part of the following counties: Athabasca County, Brome County, Compton County, Drummond County, Frontenac County, Megantic County, Missisquoi County, Richmond County, Stansted County, Shefford County, Sherbrooke County, Wolfe County. English-speaking inhabitants remained a majority in the townships until the 1870s. In the early 1980s, Quebec was reorganized into 16 administrative regions divided into regional county municipalities. The bulk of the Eastern Townships became the Estrie region, but Athabasca, Drummond, and part of Wolfe and Megantic counties became part of the Miramichi-Bois-Francs region, while the remainder of Megantic County became part of the Chaudière-Appalaches region, and the Shefford and Missisquoi counties became part of the Montaragis region. As of 2012, the entire region is almost entirely francophone, with the notable exception of Lennoxville, which is evenly divided between English and French speakers and hosts the region's only English-speaking university, Bishop's University. Even though the region is now predominantly French-speaking, the influence of the Loyalists and settlers from New England can still be observed in the architecture of older buildings and the names of various towns. Heritage sites. Heritage sites in the Eastern Townships include Holy Trinity Anglican Church near Thetford Mines. Notable natives and inhabitants. Conrad Black became the owner of his first newspaper, the Eastern Townships Advertiser, in 1966. Joseph Armand Bombardier, Canadian inventor, 1907 to 1964, was born in Valcourt. Jean Charest, 29th Premier of Quebec, was born in Sherbrooke. Deanne Cohen, economist, Order of Canada, Order of Manitoba, lives part-time in Hatley, Quebec. Muriel Duckworth, pacifist and feminist, died in Magog. Reginald Fessenden, Canadian inventor, was born in East Bolton. Louise Street, Laurent, Prime Minister of Canada 1948 to 1957, was born in Compton. Paul Martin, Prime Minister of Canada 2003 to 2006, lives in Brome. Damien Pettigrew, Paris-based Canadian film director, lives part-time on Lake Memphremagog. Donald Sutherland, actor, lives part-time in Georgeville. Julia Grace Wales, World War I peace activist.